Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this press conference by Mrs. Heidi Hautala, Chairman of the Subcommittee on Human Rights, and Mrs. Rebiya Kadeer, who is the President of the World Uyghur Congress. We had a meeting this morning with Mrs. Kadeer already. I will first ask Mrs. Hautala to make a statement, then we will hear Mrs. Kadeer, and then we will take questions from journalists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome to this press conference facilitated by the Subcommittee on Human Rights in this Parliament. And it's my pleasure and my honor to present to you Mrs. Rebiya Kadeer, the President of the World Uyghur Association. She was giving evidence and talking to us this morning in the meeting of the Subcommittee about the situation of the Uyghur minority in Xinjiang in China. And of course, we as a Human Rights Subcommittee, we are very concerned about the situation because we would of course like to see that the different ethnic groups are living in harmony with each other, but we have got to find some quite worrying information about what has happened around the 5th of July. So basically, having heard what Mrs. Kadeer has told us this morning, I would just very plainly repeat that I believe that there is a case for an independent international investigation to those events so that all violations of human rights from all possible sides can be cleared and investigated. So I would like to give the floor now to Mrs. Kadeer to talk to you, and then she obviously is prepared to respond to your remarks and comments, and if there might be some questions to myself, I will be available as well. So, Mrs. Kadeer.
Maybe just one technical detail. As Mrs. Kadeer is speaking in Uyghur, we will have, as an unusual arrangement, consecutive interpretation. So she will speak in Uyghur and the interpreter sitting next to her will then translate into English. Thank you.
Rahmat, bugün mening xalqimninki dərdi ahvalını sizlerdeki jurnalistlarga və Avropa Parlamentinin zalında yetkiziş fursatı hazırlap bəgənlik üçün mən xanımның ismini bilənmədim. Xanımğa və Avropa Parlamentinin kişilik hüquq komitetigə rəhmət etmə və müşəyə gələn barlıq jurnalist xanım əpəndimlərə rəhmət etmə.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Heidi Hautala for organizing today's hearing and also for organizing this press conference. And thank you for all of you to come to attend this press conference.
Bizning milletimiz Uyghur, bizning vətənimizin ismi Şərq Türkistan.
So we are the Uyghurs living in Central Asia, and our land name is East Turkestan.
1949 yılı Xitay hükümeti tarafından besivelingandan keyin koyulgan ismi Şinjan Uyghur Abdunum Rayonu.
The Chinese communist authorities occupied the East Turkestan in 1949 and changed its name as Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region.
Lekin bizge Abdunum kanun bəgəndikin biz ula bilen şundak yaxşı bir inak ötüş bilen birge yaşadık.
So China granted autonomy in 1955 to East Turkestan, and then we thought that we can live and China will keep its promise in respect our rights, the Uyghur people's rights.
Ula Abdunum kanun bəgəndə naiti yaxşı kanunlarını bədi, bizning öz tilimizde özümüz sözləydiğən və öz təqdirimizde özümüz belgiləydiğən, iqtisadımızda özümüz bir tərəf qıladığən və öz dini etiqadımız özümüz iyi bulduğan.
So the autonomy law which Chinese authorities, the Chinese constitution granted to us, grant us the freedom of religion, the freedom of education in our own language, to use our own language and benefit from the and have the authority to, in our economy, to responsible to our own economy.
Hatta öz takdirimizni özümüz belgilep özümüz iyi bulduğumuzda etti.
Even they promised us that we will have the right to determine our own political future.
Lekin 60 yıldan beri bu siyasetin hiç kaysını icra kılmadı. Erkinlikten söz iç mümkün emez. Bir gün pis tinçlikle erişemedik.
But China didn't keep its promise and instead persecuted all Uyghurs and pursued a repressive policy against the Uyghur people. And we didn't enjoy any freedom, even any peace.
Bizning iqtisodiy taraqqiyotimizni bizni namratlaştırdı aldı bilen.
First of all, economically, they kept us backward, where we couldn't benefit from economic developments in China.
İkinci, bizning tilimizni, özümüzdeki dini itikadımızı çekledi.
They restricted our religious freedom and also they banned our language.
Üçüncü, bizning zade her kandak taleplerimizni bastırış bilen cevap verdi.
So they didn't, Chinese authorities didn't listen to our grievances and instead resort to violence and suppressed all kinds of dissent.
80-90% adamlarımızı marifsizlaştırdı.
And many of the Uyghurs are illiterate now.
Marifsizlaştırdı. Hazır endi ben bütün tarihini sözlep otlamayman. Xitay hükümeti köşmeller meselesiga kelgandimi bizning besibaga vaqtida 2%'ti. Köşmellerni bizning sonimizni oshirib etmaymiz degan. Hazır milyonlab köşmellerni töküp etdi.
When they granted this autonomy to us, Chinese authorities promised that they will not move Chinese population from mainland China to our land. But when they occupied our land, there were 2% Chinese population. But now they pursued a policy of transferring population. They moved millions of Chinese from mainland China to East Turkestan. So now they constitute a 46% of the total population in East Turkestan.
Xitay hükümeti özünün siyasetini ve köşmellerini biz bilen inak ötüş, tinç ötüş siyasetini icra kılmadı.
Even Chinese government didn't try to educate that, these Chinese settlers in East Turkestan didn't try to create a friendship between the local population and the Chinese settlers, but instead created a hatred between these two ethnic groups.
Bizim millet süptüde etnik kırgınçılık kılışını ilgili sürdü.
Instead of respecting our rights, our cultural rights, Chinese authorities tried to destroy our culture, our language, and our religion.
Bizim milli kırgınçılık ne ilgili sürdü?
And pursued a kind of genocide policy, cultural genocide policy against the Uyghurs.
Bizning ahvolimizni, yani desammi sizlar Tibetning ahvolini yillardan beri o'rganyapsizlar, Tibetning ahvoli bilan o'xshash.
So our situation is very similar to that of Tibetan situation and Tibetan situation.
Bugungi Uyg'urlarning ahvoli,
the situation of the Uyghurs right now,
hech qanday o'zining 3 vaqt tamoq yeyishdan o'zga iqtisodiy taraqqiy qilish huquqi cho'rt yo'q. O'zining ko'nglidagi gapni deyish huquqi yo'q. O'zaro fikrlashish huquqi yo'q.
So they are now living without any rights, and rights of expression, rights of assembly, and rights of educated with their own language.
Hatta o'zlarining bolalarini xohlagan maktablarda o'qitish huquqi yo'q.
They even cannot send their children to the schools they want to send them.
Hamma narsa hukumatning siyosati bilan taqsim qilinadi.
So it is all under the control and instructions of the government.
Uni anglamay o'zining talabini qo'yganlar milliy bo'lgunchi terrorist deb turmaga tashlanadi.
If Uyghurs raise any questions about the Chinese policy, he or she is being labeled as terrorist, as separatist, and being punished.
Turmaga tashlangan Uyg'urlarning advokat taklif qilib o'zini oqlash huquqi yo'q.
So the Uyghurs who are being detained by the Chinese authorities don't have the right to hire a lawyer.
aldığı ölüm cezası kendini müddətsiz hazır siyasi mahpuslara bizden Uygurlardan başkalara ölüm cezası yok.
So in China, the ethnic group who are being executed for political reasons are the Uyghurs.
Yüzlep, onlap Uygurlarını maşının üstüne çıkıp köçülerini aylandırıp hiç kandak adukatsız milli bölgünç teröristler hiç kandak cinayet yok Uygur'a yetip taşlaydı.
So the Uyghurs, those Uyghurs who speak out against the Chinese policies in East Turkestan are being sentenced to long-term prisons or executed in public gatherings.
Bizden ahvalımız bana mışındak. Yani desem hazır Uygur halkının ki özünün ki vakit itibaren toxtattım. Ben sizlerge sözlep versem Tibet'in ahvalını ufkudu sizler şunda okusanlar buludu. Bulup buma 7. ayının 5'deki vakalarını anladınlar. Yani kağını sual koysanlar buldu.
So as I told you, our situation is very similar to the situation of Tibetans. So because of the time, I cannot, talk more. So please, if you have questions, you can, I can answer that.
We have time for your questions. Just remind us your name and the organization you work for, and also to whom you direct your questions. Nawab first.
Nawab Khan from the Kuwait news agency Kuna. Mrs. Hautula, you have called for an international independent investigation. Who should conduct this investigation? The UN, the European Union, who?
Thank you for the question. So this is about who should carry out such an independent international investigation. Normally I believe that the United Nations is the right body to do such things. Of course now we are in the European Parliament and it's our duty to remind the European Union about its power to influence that such a decision would be taken. And I hope that this really will take place because as we have heard this morning from Mrs. Kadeer, she also has emphasized that she admitted that some Uyghurs themselves reacted to the intimidation of the Chinese police and have killed and injured Han Chinese. So obviously Mrs. Kadeer is not denying that there might be some violence or even crime from the other side. So such an independent study is by all means very, very important to conduct, and I'm sure that Mrs. Kadeer herself is calling for such an investigation as well. But basically the United Nations with the help of the European Union.
Another questions at the back, please.
Yes, I'm Daniel Fontaine from the Belgian radio, RTBF. I would like that Mrs. Kadeer explains herself what happened from her point of view in July in Urumqi. What were exactly the events as far as she knows today? I know 1 month ago in Tokyo she told about 10,000 people who disappeared. I don't know if she still confirms that.
5 Eylül vakasida sizce nima bo'ldi deydi u. Hozirgi vaziyat qanday? Undan keyin Yaponiyada shu 10 odam yo'qolib ketdi deganda shuni hozirgacha shuni nima turamsiz shu gap.
Hozirgacha turmam shu gapimda. Uningdan jiq odam yo'qlayotdi hozir. Har kuni kelgan xabarlar bak qo'rqinchli. Tönögün kolumuzga mınımış üçümüz hep okuduk. Tönögün kolumuzga vatandan 3 parça xat çıktı. Bir adam Yaponiya keçip çıktı. Hazır berip guvalıktan öt desenler guvalıktan ötümüz dep yazıptı.
So first of all, I can say that the arrest and detention are still continuous. As I said in Tokyo, according to informations we have been receiving from from East Turkestan, the number of the people who have disappeared is about 10,000, and China still continues to arrest more people. And we have received information from Japan, the people in Uyghurs who recently visited East Turkestan sent us information. These are the witness accounts. So they are telling that the situation are so terrible and people are disappearing every day, and they are ready to testify anywhere if they are invited.
Bu hatta özünün közü bilen kögen mesele ve onun tukallarının ve ikinci doktorhandan ağan akbaratken.
So these accounts are based on the incidents he was witnessed, and also incidents that his relatives and friends witnessed during and aftermath of the 5th July incident in Urumqi.
Bütün tutulup atkan ballar, toluk otturunu bitkizgen ballar ve Ali mektep balları yaş ballarken hem ula urup öyleri yerimcan taşlap beri betipti.
So most of the people, according to these accounts, most of the people who have been arrested during and after the 5th July unrest in Urumqi are teenagers and university students and high school students.
Onun sırtı da aşılarını urup şunda katı kıynak filan kımığa işine çıkıp mayanı ben köydürdüm, ayağını ben köydürdüm deyip videolar sözlü bitipti.
So they all being tortured in detention and being forced to confess that they committed such crimes, and they were taken by the Chinese police to the certain areas of the city, and they were forced to say that they burned that certain place and committed certain crime.
Ailesikiler ölüp ketkenler, ailesikiler yokap ketken neçe yüz ailelerini eğer muş ailendeki ölgen adamını sırtın kirgenlerge ya ki tunuşlarını diysen senin ailen bile öldürüldü de puhturuptu.
The family members who lost or a member of their families or a family member disappeared, they cannot go to the or disclose or talk to the people that certain members are disappeared from their families, because they were threatened by Chinese authorities not to tell anybody and not to tell anybody that his son or her husband or his son disappeared during the incident.
Xitayning bütün Ürümçi'yi sen telefon et bak birer tanışın olsa, bütün telefonlar takaldı, bütün internetler takaldı. Eğer Xitay rast gap kıvatkan olsa, şundak çok bir tragediya bulmasa, bundak takip etmeydi.
The internet and telephone lines are still blocked, so we cannot, nobody can communicate with the people inside East Turkestan. If nothing happened, if China wants the truth to be known by the world, why they are not, allowing the people to communicate with their relatives, their friends in East Turkestan?
Uyghur halkı bu namayışka Xitayning bayrağını adette kötemedisler uqslar. Lekin şu günü namayışka Xitayning bayrağını götürüp men senin puhrarın, men tinchlik bilen çıktım, bana çıkılma, avazımni angla dep çıkkan namayışını topadan aylandırıp etti.
So as I say, this demonstration in Urumqi was a peaceful demonstration, and the demonstrators were carrying the Chinese flags to show the Chinese authorities that they are not, they just want to the truth, and the Chinese government should listen to them, and they are the Chinese citizens, and they don't want anything else.
Xitay hükümeti aşı 10 bin adamның qançiligini turmaga aytdi, qançiligi öldürüldü, biz uqmaymiz, 10 mingdan jiq adam deb anladık. Men bütün dunyoga shuningga vaqirab murojaat qilyapman. Aşı vatandagi hatta bir yetim balla maktabiga 83 bala, bir mahalladagi yetim ballaga ota-onasi tutulib ketilgan. Onalari tutilgan, dadalari tutilgan baladan bir yetim balla maktabiga akirgan, ota-onasiz qolgan baladan 83 balaning tizimini bizga vatib berdi.
So according to new information we received from East Turkestan, an orphan school in Urumqi recently received 83 children whose parents were detained or disappeared during the incident 5th of July.
Bir mahalle.
It is just one orphanage.
Khalid Hamid Farooqi from Geo Television News, Pakistan. Could you explain that, do you want restoration of 1955 constitutional guarantee or you want independent state. And Chinese have been complaining about your movement, or in the province there is a religious extremist activity. You live in secular state where different ethnic groups live together. What do you want? You want to live within a Chinese secular state, or you want to create some sort of Sharia state?
Xitoydan 1955'deki şu avtonomiya qonuni şu qaytadan tiklishini shuni talab qilamsiz yo mustaqil bir davlat talab qilamsiz yo deydi bu yerda Xitoy hukumati diniy nimalar bilan aloqasi bor deydi bir shariat davlat qurishni xohlamsiz yo shariat.
Men xalqimningki hozirgi shu kishilik huquqi bilan xalqimning hozirgi bir o'zi bergan Xitoyning o'zi bergan qonuni ichidagi men yezib taqatdim sizlarga o'zi bergan qonuni ichidagi haqiqiy o'z taqdirini o'zi belgilaydigan kishilik huquqini talab qilaman.
As I stated in my statement, written statement, I want the Chinese authorities to respect their own constitution and respect the rights they granted the Uyghur people in their constitution, in autonomy, in genuine autonomy. We want also a genuine autonomy and self-determination for the Uyghur people.
Çünkü Uygurlarınki özünün takdirini özü belgileyemeydi. O Şinjan Uygur Abdunum Rayın degen kanunu ağızda degen bilen onu icra kılmadı. Hem şunu icra kılış, onundan sırt Uygurların dini itikatıga ve özünün milli kimlikiga hılap nurgun nerslerini Uygurlarına tanıdı. Bunların emnisini özgertiş için hareket kılattınız.
So Chinese authorities, of course, they promised a lot in their autonomy law, but they didn't keep their promise. And also there are a lot of things about our religion, about the religious freedom, in many other aspects that we need to rewrite that, autonomy law.
Şeriat devleti diyenler biz kımıdık bizden kurulan devletimiz Şarkı Türkistan devletimiz demokratiya devletti.
When we established the East Turkestan Republic in 1944, it was a secular republic, not a Sharia republic.
Alakımız yok demesek mi biz? Bunun din ki biz hazır özümüz Xitay bilen diyalog kelgenden ki Xitay bilen diyalog kelgenden ki şu diyalogdan ilgiri sürülüşü qarab Xitay hükümetinin bizden halkımızga nime beradiganligini uqib Amerikan halkımızın takdiri to'g'riliq bir nima deymiz.
So first of all, we ask the Chinese government, Chinese authorities to establish a dialogue with the representative of the Uyghur people. And in the process of this dialogue, then we will decide what we want from Chinese authorities to do.
Thank you, David, s'il te plaît.
David Carretta, Radio Radicale. Mrs. Kadeer, do you expect other or more unrest if the Chinese government will not respect its constitution or sit down with you to talk with non-Han people as you asked this morning?
Yo'q, men tanlamayman. Xitoy hukumatining xalqaroning, Xitoy demokratchilarining, Xitoy hukumatining demokratiyaga qarab menishini va Xitoy hukumatining xalqaro shundaq demokratiya, kishilik huquq ko'ngil biladigan Yevropa parlamentdak, Birlashgan Davlatlar Tashkiloti, US Amerikadak davlatlarningki va islom dunyosiningki va Turkiyaninki har qanday davlatlarning besimi ostida Xitoy hukumatining tinchlik bilan oxir dialogga keladiganiga ishonaman. Men shundaq bir kun bo'ludi deyman. Boshqa yo'lni tanlamayman, cho'qim men tinchlik bilan aytmayman.
So we will not select any other path. There's a peaceful path. The peaceful means we will try to solve our problem with peaceful means. And I hope the Chinese government, under the pressure of the international community, Islamic world, European Union, and other countries, finally at the end will sit in a negotiating table with the representative of the Uyghur people.
Jorge Valero from the Spanish newspaper La Razón. for Ms. Kadeer. I would like to know what is her opinion about the reaction of the European countries, not only the European institutions, but also of the European countries. And about the international investigation, I would like to know if there is any willing between the European countries, or do you think that they are open to put forward this international independent investigation? Thanks.
Tekşiriş heyeti hakkında söz kıldınız deydi. Avrupa İttifakı'nınki devletlerin pozisyasını nima deydi? Bular Xitoyning shundan zo'rlarmi deydi.
Hazır dünya ekonomiya iqtisadi meselesi var. Xitoy hukumati Uyg'urlarni dünya terrorizmidan foydalanib, nihoyatda keng ko'lamda qattiq bostirib, shuningdan foydalanib bizning milliy kimligimizni yo'qotishga tirishdi.
First of all, I want to say that Chinese authorities have been using the international war on terror to suppress further the Uyghur descent and Uyghur people. Because we were Muslim, it was very easy to China to blame us as terrorists and extremists.
Endi bu ketim dünya iqtisadi nimeden faydalanıp, naiti fırsatını çın tutup, yani muşu ketimni Uygurlarni muşundaq paytda bastırdı.
So now China is trying to use the economic downturn, global economic downturn, to suppress further the Uyghur people, the Uyghur descent.
Lekin ben Avrupa parlamentini bugün xeyrini qıpadi, onu sizlarni akab o'taqizibdi. Mushu o'zi bizning maslimizga ko'ngil bo'lganlik va ko'ngil bo'ladi. Bizdek bir ezilgan millatni bunda qirishga tashlab etmaydi. Amerikami ham Yevropami ham butun dunyo deb ishonman.
But I hope that the international community, the European Union, as we say today, they organize a hearing, and also the U.S. government and other free countries of free world will not allow the Chinese to go further, and they will, force the Chinese authorities at the end to allow an international and fair investigation about the July 5th incident.
Thank you.
My name is Li Xingyang from NTD TV. I have a question to Madame Hautala. Actually, the human rights situation in China is one of the main topics in European Parliament, especially this year, 2009, 50th anniversary of communist regime ruling in Tibet, 20 years anniversary of Tiananmen massive killing, 10 years anniversary of persecution Falun Gong, and now it's Uyghur issues. You, as the new chairwoman of Human Rights Summit Committee, do you have some plan in your agenda for this next legislative term about human rights issue in China? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. As you say, the European Parliament has permanently called for implementation of constitutional rights of Chinese citizens, and has called for the liberation of human rights defenders that are detained, has called for the rights of minorities. And I think in the future we have to understand that the situation in Xinjiang is to a large extent to be compared with that of Tibet. So I think there is an awful lot to do in the dialogue between the European Union and China, and I of course am also talking to the Chinese officials and diplomats here in the European Union, and we are always open to discuss with them, but we take the liberty to talk to those who are coming to us with some very worrying information, so we continue to talk to representatives of minorities and defenders of human rights in general. So yes, China and the human rights situation will be a permanent topic on our agenda, also in the subcommittee.